All right.
I guess it was the 4th, January 4th, when we got his MRI back. The first MRI, actually first CT and MRI. Oh, sorry, first CT. They said that he had days, if that, to live. So we called the whole family in, and then they performed an MRI on him the next day, and the very next day they did an MRI on him. And later on that evening, the neurologist came in and said that, it looks better than we thought. Mm-hmm. And so he said he'll probably just be a vegetable for the rest of his life. And then a few weeks later, we had another neurologist take a look at him and say that, he would probably be nothing more than just a vegetable for the rest of his life, vegetative state. And we were not going to allow that to happen because we knew that he was in there. Because the first 3 weeks, he started responding to some commands. We asked him to squeeze our hand, and he did. After a few times of asking, he did squeeze our hand. And, of course, you tell the doctors, and they're like, sure, whatever, From the MRIs and the CTs and the EEGs and all the things that they did on him, they believed that there was nothing that could be done. But we were with him 24 hours a day. So, doctors would come in, they'd be in there for 5 minutes and say, okay, okay, they did their assessment, and they'd leave. And, he was there, he was in there, he was squeezing our hand. And then after, I would say, about 21, 22 days from the date that this happened, he started having what's called sympathetic storming, where it's explained to me as basic as I can tell it, because I'm not in the medical field, that he was, it's like his brain was just on all circuits. It was just like you take a big cable, you cut it in half, and you're just rubbing the ends together. It's like all this electricity, everything just firing at the same time. That's kind of what was going on with Jamie. His heart rate would go up to 200, his blood pressure would go up really high, and then it would drop real low. And he would sweat really bad, and his heart would just race. And he would, what's called posture, he would draw all his limbs in when this happened. And it was just the brain's way of trying to deal with the injury, the anoxic brain injury. So once the storming stopped completely, we believe it stopped completely. The doctors are unsure, but we haven't seen any storming in a while. Once that stopped, about 3 weeks ago, that's when we started really seeing him try to communicate with us, and him trying to, him singing with us, mouthing the words to songs and telling me things. I love you, Mom. And I would say, no, I love you. He'd say, no, I love you. And I'd say, no, I love you. And then he would get, he's like, no, I love you. He'd get frustrated. And his little personality started coming out. He stopped running the temperatures that were non-bacterial related. Like his brain was caught, because the part of the brain that was the temperature part that was affected, he would run fever off and on for no reason, and they did cultures and blood work and urine cultures and all of that, and it would come back, nothing would grow. So we knew that there was no infection. It was just his brain that was causing this temperature. So that has subsided too, aside from a few bladder infections here and there, because of the catheter that he has, the Foley catheter in. And they're doing that just because when you're in a hospital bed and you're not moving around, they don't really want you to have a diaper. They don't really want you to have an adult brief on because you're more susceptible to get bed sores because you're just sitting on your bottom all the time. And if you go potty, you're just sitting in it, in the diaper, or the brief. So that's why they kept the catheter in and didn't put an adult brief on him for a long time. But then it started getting irritated, and he started pulling on it, and he pulled it out, and it caused a slight tear in his urethra. So it's a little sensitive right now, and they did put the catheter back in, just temporarily until it heals on its own, and then he'll be in an adult brief until he can do more bladder control. But he does tell us when he needs to go poop. He says, "Poop, I poop." A lot of times it's like after he did it, so he says, "I poop." But anyway, he does really well with that. But he doesn't tell us when he needs to go, so that's why they have the catheter and the adult brief on. So he has no bed sores. His body is completely healthy in every single way, except for the muscle tightness and the anoxic brain injury. They did tell us since we got here a week ago that he did in the medical records that he did suffer some strokes. We did not know about that prior to his stay here. Medical city did not tell us, and none of the other hospitals told us that he had a stroke. So, and it affected his vision part of his brain. So, anyway.
You can see that guy back there.
So anyway, he's doing better. He is a miracle. They did not expect him to live, and then today he's telling me that he's tired. "I'm tired, Mom." So it's good. And then the speech therapist did say today that they were going to start working on teaching him how to swallow food and drinks in the next week or so. His stay here will only be through the end of May. And then they're going to look for a transition rehab. They expect 3 hours a day rehab, participating in rehab here. And then he'll transition to another rehabilitation place that requires 6 hours a day. And that place is called, that we chose after the stay here, is called Pate. And it's in Anna, not far from here. Not far from where we live anyway, so. But
Okay.